just kind of loving this playoff football here. I don't know if we'll have any podcasts this week, but we're just sitting back chilling. Man, Washington Wizards had an opportunity to win the game. They balled until the last few seconds. It really was disappointing to see them not completely finish. It's a tough team to play, but I thought they had the better of that team in Golden State. Just let it slip away at the end. But it was a fun watch, though. Definitely a fun watch.
Yeah, that's a great segue. And it's been a kind of a microcosm of the season for the Wizards, where they played well at times, but their defense lets them down in key moments. And it's happened time and time again. And so we're going to definitely do an abbreviated Wizards segment right now. But thank you, Dujeuner. It's kind of funny that it's a post-game show, especially because the game was at 3:00 and here we are at 11:30. I guess it's technically still a post-game segment, but it's very removed. But DJ, I hope to see you next week, or at least sometime down the road for the playoffs, and I hope that you have a great week.
You too, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Take care, brother. Good
one. All right, guys.
So we're going to do this very, very quickly with Champ and Tim. We're going to go through these Wizards games. I've already switched up the graphic, and it was a very frustrating week for the Wizards. I'm not going to put the scores up on the screen. We're just going to go through them very quickly. It was a positive note to start with that Chicago win. The Bulls were up after the first, 29-25. And then they actually outscored the Wizards 30-21 in the second, but the Wizards put together a 20-point advantage in the third quarter, outscored them 41-21 points, which is the real difference in this game. The Bulls come back a little bit, outscored them 17-13 for a 100-97 win for the Wizards. Kuzma played a great game. I'll let Champ give me your thoughts on that one.
Right. So Kyle Kuzma, once again, being the carrying force for this team with 21 points, and the three of those 21 points that were the final three that were the difference in this team winning this game over the Bulls. This was a highly contested, very close game. But the bad part about this was there wasn't a lot of scoring from others. I mean, Denny Abdia was doing his best Dennis Rodman impression. He had 20 rebounds. He was on the boards heavy in this one, but you didn't get a lot of scoring from a lot of double-digit scoring from your starters outside of Kuzma and Morris. A lot of your scoring came from the bench. Gill had 18. Hachimura off the bench had 10. Beal was not playing this game, dealing with that injury to his hamstring. But you needed this win coming off the loss to OKC. You needed this victory, and you needed that big bounce back. And to get that big shot from Kuz shows you that's why he's one of your big three, is because of the fact that in that big spot, he knows how to get it done in that big spot.
Yeah, Tim, what are some of your thoughts about this? Where the Wizards came back, but then they let the Bulls all the way back into it, and it had to be, as you were saying, a game-winning three by Kuzma to win it.
Yeah, the Wizards, they without Beal, sometimes they play really good team basketball like this, where obviously they have Kuzma, they have Rui, who they can score in bunches, but the Wizards without Beal, they're forced to really share the basketball and distribute the scoring. So you had a lot of guys, 9 points or double digits, pretty even. The Bulls are about the same level as the Wizards, so I thought this was a very winnable game, and just good to see them close out. I mean, as we talked about, the Wizards really do struggle down the stretch, but at least they pulled this one out, and love to see those 20 boards from Denny. He's had some ups and downs, but that's a great night for him, and good to at least get one win this week.
Yeah, only one other player had over 5 rebounds on the team, so he needed all those 20 rebounds. I think it was really key for this victory. All right, then the next one is against the Knicks. The Wizards actually outscored the Knicks in the first. This game was in Washington, 21-19. Outscored them in the second quarter, 32-31. So they had a slight lead going into the third. The Knicks came storming back in the third, but the Wizards still at one point had the lead, but the Knicks were able to chip away at it and take a lead going into the fourth. And both teams had 32 points in the fourth quarter, giving the Knicks the 4-point victory, 112-108. Kuzma had 40 points in this one, but it wasn't enough. I'll go to you, Champ, first. What were some of your thoughts?
I mean, Kuz did everything he could to win this matchup, putting up 40 points for the Wizards. Porzingis had 21 as well. But as Tim mentioned, they're trying to spread the ball around. But the problem is that you can spread the ball around, but are they going to score for you and get that production that you need? And then on top of that, you also have to worry about defensively as well. And clearly defensively, they didn't hold up as much as they should have, and it led to them falling short against this team. Kispert also had 13 on this night as well, but it just was not enough for the Wizards to take down a Knicks team that, yes, they are on the level. They are each almost on equal footing, but the Knicks were just a little bit better than they were in terms of what they needed to do. Jalen Brunson had 34 points, which was a lot to overcome.
For sure. Tim, what are some of your thoughts about this loss to the Knicks?
Yeah, the Knicks have been up and down. They're very streaky. Right now they're in a playoff spot, and they've been winning a lot of games. So the Wizards definitely caught them at the wrong time. Without Beal, it's tough to beat a team that's playing well. And 40-point night, that's great, but they let the Knicks kind of torch them from the perimeter. And also, the game wasn't quite as close as the scoreline because the Wizards needed a really good comeback to make it close at the end. But they let the Knicks get too far ahead in the third and early fourth quarter. So it's just hard to come back from double digits in the second half, even when you have a hero night from Kuzma. For
sure. And we're actually playing the Knicks in our next game on Wednesday, but we'll get into that in a second. So this Golden State game that Dujane was talking about, the Warriors outscored the Wizards 35-33 in the first, outscored them 34-31 in the second. The Wizards did come back, outscored them 29-24 in the third, and they made a game of it at one point where Washington was actually up 106 to 98, but then Golden State came storming back and were able to actually outscore them 34-25 in the fourth quarter for a 127-118 victory. Porzingis did put up 32 points and Kuzma had 11 rebounds, but just not enough. And Golden State just has such firepower. They're able to just kind of turn it on at the end when it matters most. But Champ, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
I actually missed this game because I ended up taking a nap earlier today, and when I woke up, the game was long over. But just looking at it, it was clear that even though this team has struggled mightily throughout the season, Steph Curry knows how to turn it on when it's at the right moment. And he went out there and finished off the game with 41 points, absolutely just killing this Wizards team to get them that 127-118 win. Clearly, the Wizards, they were able to hang with this team, but they did get a lot better and much more balanced scoring from their starters. 4 of their 5 starters did have double figures, including Porzingis, who led all scoring with 32. Kuzma did have a double-double with 16 points and 11 boards. You got Hachimura off the bench who had 16. So you had a little bit more balanced scoring, a lot more people in double figures. But when you have Stephen Curry going out there and just chucking up threes in double teams and making them with effort, with like reckless abandonment and with ease, what else can you do about that? It's just really demoralizing when you know a player like that can go out there and just chuck up a three with 2 people in his face and it still goes in. Like, it's crazy to me. But this was a tough loss, and this is going to be a loss that's going to sting as they go into the remainder of the week, because they have a pretty interesting couple games coming up moving forward.
Yeah, so we're at New York at 7:30 on Wednesday, and then Orlando at home on Saturday, January 21st. It's a 7 o'clock game. So we only got 2 more games this week. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll start off with New York. Tim, what do you think about this rematch game up in New York City?
The Knicks are still playing good basketball. They just won yesterday again. So I will pick the Knicks in this game just because I think they're likely to go to the playoffs. However, the Wizards have a good chance. You know, the Wizards the last probably 5 years have won a lot of games. I'm guessing that one's in the Garden. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah, but the Wizards have won a lot of games there. Beal likes playing there. I'm guessing he can't play, so that's probably going to be the difference. So I'll pick the Knicks in that one.
And Champ, what are your thoughts on the rematch with the Knicks?
I'm also going to go with the Knicks here. Bill was cleared for sports activities recently, but it still hasn't been determined if he will make his return in this game. And the Knicks are playing a little bit better basketball, and they're going to be coming off of that high of already beating the Wizards in their building in Wizard State Arena. But now they're going to be in MSG, and I think that the Knicks will have a little bit of an edge on them. Julius Randle will have something to prove. He's currently averaging a double-double on the season, 24 points and 10 rebounds. So I honestly think the Knicks can take this one. The Wizards are just not in sync. They're not firing on all cylinders, and that loss in Cap 1 is going to really haunt them as they try to push forward and try to get some momentum as the All-Star break starts to loom large.
Yeah, for sure. So New York had won 3 in a row. Indianapolis, at Washington, at Detroit, but before losing to Toronto, 123-121 in a close one. So it'll be interesting to see how that has an effect on them as well. So the only other game is that Orlando game at home. Orlando Magic has lost to Denver, Utah. They beat Portland. They lost to the Kings, and they actually beat the Golden State Warriors. And they've got another game against New Orleans on Friday, so the night before, and that game will be in Orlando, so they'll have to play sort of a back-to-back game. So it'll be interesting to see if that impacts them whatsoever. But Champ, what are your thoughts on playing against the Magic?
This is a much more even matchup. I mean, the Wiz do have a 2-game advantage over the Magic in terms of wins and losses. So this is a winnable game for the Wizards. And if they do end up losing to the Knicks in MSG, they'll be very much motivated and pissed off. They should be getting Beal back at this point. And if they can get Beal back and complement him with Kuz and with Porzingis, you get your big 3 in there. Honestly, I think they win this game, but if Beal does not play this game, it's going to be very, very close. But I'm going to pick the Wizards to win this one, to split and go 1-1 this week. I think they lose to the Knicks, but they beat Orlando.
Sounds good. And Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Orlando is one of those teams in the East that the Wizards consistently beat, and that's a really brutal schedule to do a back-to-back with a pretty long flight. So I think the Wizards are going to take that game down the stretch, be fresher.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll recap those 2 games and we'll preview the Texas swing with Dallas and Houston the following week, also in New Orleans game next Saturday. And the following podcast, actually on Monday, January 30th, we'll be playing at San Antonio at 8 o'clock game. So we'll do a live watch along after we go over some of the playoff action in just a couple of weeks there. But I appreciate you guys for helping me break down some of the Washington Wizards stuff. Tim, I'm going to let you go first. Any final thoughts you have either on the Caps winning in overtime with Dmitry Orlov, or any of the NFL playoff action, or anything you want to let our fans know?
No, I'm just I'm happy that the Caps won. I'm glad that I could talk about one victory today before I get out of here. It was a little disappointing how the Caps had such a great stretch and then they had a little stumble there. But hey, they won today, so right back at it. And things are looking up for them. Even what was it, Saturday night? I saw them play the whole game. Tough loss against Philly, but at least Ovi scored. So there's always something to play for.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be an interesting that they have to play another game tomorrow in Washington against the Wild. So we'll see how they come back against that. But Tim, thank you for joining us as always. Hopefully we'll have you back on next week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, have a good one. See ya.
All right, Champ. I'm going to let people know what's happening on the No Spots podcast.
All right. On the No Spots podcast coming up this Saturday, it's our annual tradition. It is myself and Sif giving us our top 10 favorite matches of 2022. We didn't do it last weekend because we were recapping a pay-per-view from the previous night. But this week we will give you our top 10 favorite matches from 2022, as well as look back on the week that was in wrestling. So that'll be streaming live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod on Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And the audio will be up on our audio platforms, and you can check out the podcast partners button at SportsOTHP.com to listen to that, as well as previous episodes, as we are climbing close to our 200th episode, which will take place in the second to third week of April, which will be our season premiere of the year. So I cannot wait for that, but that's what we have coming up very, very soon.
Thank you so much, Champ, for joining us tonight. As always, moderating and doing the No Spots podcast. If people want to know more about wrestling, go check that out as well. And I appreciate you as always, and we'll have you on next week to talk a little bit more playoff action.
Absolutely. No Kigeño. Sayonara.
All right. Thank you, Champ. All right. So with that, it's been a awesome episode, 2.5 hours of sports talk here. We won one, we lost one. The Capitals got a big victory in overtime against the Islanders. Again, Dmitry Orlov with the overtime spectacular goal and the win. Surprisingly, Dallas really took it to Tampa Bay. I kind of thought they might win this game, but I did not expect it to be by this much of a margin. They'll be playing again on Sunday. That game will be at San Francisco. Some interesting playoff matchups coming up next week. We'll break those down with the roundtable. I hope that everyone had a good MLK day if you had the day off, or that you're able to do something positive for the community. So thank you for everyone for tuning in on the Twitch stream. Had a lot of great people commenting all night long. Thank you to my mods, Carly, Andy, Champ, for all coming through. Lots of people for tuning in. We are going to do a raid, but before I do that, I'm going to end the live stream on Facebook, where DC Sports Without the Politics, Sports on the Hill podcast, and we'll catch you next week for episode 296. And hope that you have a great week, and let's go Caps. All right, and I will
recording stopped.
Stop that recording there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We're going to do a raid over to KR Acoustic. Appreciate him as always, and hope that you guys all have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you again for tuning in to Sports and Health Podcast, episode 295 here on YouTube and on Twitch. We are rating KR Acoustic. Make sure you go and hit the follow button if you're lurking, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.